Hello, my name's Stephen from K-Scale Models, and today I'm doing a spotlight video about the M61A5 main battle tank by Grusti here. So, as we can see here, this is very impressive, very well shaded, very well modelled, but this doesn't look like a 3D printable model, does it? That's because it's not. Grusti here, if you go to their profile, is an environmental artist. They work on the environments you see in video games. So yeah, this was just a little bit of portfolio work that they were doing, or a bit of fun. This wasn't for any video game projects they were working on or designed for 3D printing. So what happened? Well, first off, I'm just going to quickly scroll through the build along that they did, showing all the texturing, bump mapping, whatever it was. I'm not an environmental artist, I'm not a video game artist, but I can appreciate a lot of time and effort went into making this thing. But yeah, back to the story. So basically, this model got leaked online. I don't know how. All I know is this model became available online. So what happened was a creator called BearToTheThrone contacted Rusty and said, "Hey, I really like your tank. Do you mind if I make a 3D printable version of it?" And apparently Grusti was down for it. So this is basically the remix version by BearToTheThrone. Now, you'll notice something here. There is no machine gun on this particular tank, but on this one there is. That's because if you read through the description, he's actually borrowed mine. That's perfectly fine. That's the sort of thing that I'm happy for someone to go along and use my bits as part of their model. That's how a lot of things happened in 3D printing at the beginning, so yeah, that's perfectly fine. Now, just quick bit through all the pictures. So if you haven't worked out by the scale of that, this is 1 to 1/44. I actually like the guy that they put there, but I've not got that on mine, but I'll explain that more later. So here is the models. Now, something to note. These models did not come intact. So just grab the hull section here. So you can see these black marks there, and there's one along the side. I think there's actually, no, they're fine. That's just the shadowing by the slicing software. But anyway, you can see that there's black marks. That's generally an flip normal somewhere, or some sort of error. Up here in Chitterbox, you just hit repair, alt repair, it's fixed. So yeah, be aware of that and make sure you repair it, because it will make it harder to print. So anyway, just to go over the list of the parts, we've got the two side parts. So these are sides of the hull. The main hull, we have the turret. Just trying to move things out of the way. We've got the two guns here and here. We've got this little bit. This is for the machine gun. So my version of the machine gun will slot in there, and this will slot into the top of the turret there. We've also got the commander's hatch, or gunner's hatch. So yeah, that's the full thing. And just in case you haven't worked it out, this is by BearToTheThrone alone. The rest of this is Grusti's work. So before we get to the printing side, or the actual finished model, I'm just going to talk about something that I thought was really interesting in this kit, and I'm going to steal this idea. So you can see these holes here and here on the guns. So there's a little hole there, there's a little hole in there on the turret. This isn't for a dowel or something, because that wouldn't fit. What this is for is a 3mm magnet. So you put a 3mm magnet in there, and hopefully you got them the right way around. If you have, then you've got barrels that connect to the actual kit and can elevate, which is really good, because we do have problems in 3D printing Gunpla of getting parts to move. Parts tend to wear down quite quickly, so you end up with just a very limping model that doesn't want to actually stay, or you have to glue it. So this gives a bit of playability, and also is a fantastic way of designing a model, because another problem with 3D printing or generally in like scale modeling, what would happen is this turret would be in two pieces: lower half, lower half, top half, and then there'd be a peg there that would slot in there, and that's how you get your rotation. But this keeps the part numbers down. So I am really interested in taking this idea forward and doing something myself with that, because I think that's a really neat idea. Anyway, enough about that. I printed this out, so time to go have a look at that. So back in a second. And here we are. So this one is the 3D printed version. This one is the Bandai injection molded version. So you can see here they look quite alike. They're very similar, not quite identical. There's little bits here and there. I'm just going to do a quick spin around and show you them. Let's move that back a little. Show you the back. Show you the sides. And there. So yeah, length, height, width all look fine. So this is pretty much what I'd be expecting from the Bandai kit, this one. Although this is of course the Bandai kit. So yeah, this is proportionally accurate, and that's good. Detail wise, I'm just first off going to show the hull and just one of the problems I had with it. So you can see here, this doesn't fit too well. Now, isolate the problem, it is the rear peg here. This might have something to do with it, but I suspect it's more just this peg here. So yeah, you can cut it off if you're watching if the file hasn't been modified, but I've told Bear about the problem and they're looking at modifying it. So, keep on with the hull. You can see here though, the details, they're less pronounced in the 3D printed version compared to the actual Bandai kit. Yeah, not surprising. This was meant to be a computer game model. You don't have as deep panel lines in that because you don't need to represent it. This was probably done at panel lines of the appropriate size for the model, like the 3D asset. Whilst this has been done for someone that's actually having to build the model and then detail it. But all the parts are there on the actual hull. The turret, though, is where this thing shines, the 3D model. You see, it's actually a basket rather than this plastic monstrosity. Now, fairness to Bandai, there's a reason why they've done it this way. Injection molding would not be happy with trying to make something this intricate. The only way you could get something like that is to do it this way, or to have it 3D printed or photo etch, and Bandai is snap fit. They're not going to be doing either of those for one of their 1/44 scale kits unless it was something special, and yeah, that's not kind of what they do. The other thing is the machine gun, which I'm a bit impartial to, so we'll just say I'm biased and leave it at that. Now, again, with the Bandai kit, you do get my detail set that will let you customize all those bits. And other than that, there's only a few minor details that you'll need a magnifying glass to really see. So yeah, it is pretty, well, it's not identical, but it's similar enough that unless you were looking for it, you wouldn't be able to see the differences. Now, just one last thing before I move on. The gun barrels, as you can see, they elevate fine on the Bandai one. They're not doing too well in my version. You can see I've got a magnet in here, but I don't have a magnet in here, and I've not got any in the turret. There's a reason for that. I was having a lot of problems getting the magnets into the turret. I don't know if I've overexposed this slightly and the magnets don't quite fit, but it just would not really fit that well. Now, I still think this is a fantastic idea, and I'm going to be stealing it for my own work. But for this particular kit, you do not need to have the magnets to get this thing complete. If you just want to shove the barrels in there, they will work fine. So yeah, and if you haven't noticed already, none of this is glued apart from the machine gun, and that's just because it's the machine gun. Of course I need to glue the thing. So overall, 1/44 scale, yeah, this works fine, and I would recommend this probably not as your first 3D printed Gunpla build, but maybe like the second, just because there's a lot of fine details such as this turret basket that can break. and you might have to print it again. However, you know me, I'm not satisfied with just making the thing out the box. Let's zoom out. Okay, so if you haven't worked out what the size is, this is 1/72. Now, this was done as a bit of fun, so there is quite a bit of cleanup needed, and this bit at the back did break, but you notice it worked fine on the 44 scale, so we're all good. You can see things are still, like clearance-wise, they're still kind of fitting. The hull is not glued together. I have cut the peg off the back here and that bit there just to make sure, but yeah, it fits quite nicely. So this is something I would also think about doing if you've got a printer, or if you've got a big enough printer. To be honest, I think you could still fit this on a Mars or Photon size printer, but in my case I was using my Saturn. I actually got both of these on the same print. It's like the 72nd and the 44th, so I can see you getting a number of 44ths on a Saturn size printer, maybe just one on an actual Mars or Photon size, but yeah, regardless, it is still a relatively easy and quick print to do, and yeah, it looks quite nice. So, for now, thank you for watching, and all the links for this model will be in the description, so please go and check them out.